Christopher Nolan, director of amazing movies like The Dark Knight, Inception, Tenet, whatever happened there, Interstellar, all fantastic movies. He is an auteur. You know when you see a Nolan movie. He made one of the most insane casting decisions for the Odyssey. And people are losing their minds over this. Now, are they correct? We'll see. We'll go over the controversy because it's a big controversy. Don't get me wrong, but I think the discourse is more deep. It's deeper than what we might think of. Okay, so first casting choice that people were upset about, it was Achilles. Okay, possibly Achilles. It's not 100% sure, but it's probably Achilles. Okay, to the left we got Brad Pitt. To the right we have Elliot Page. A lot of people are saying that this is a downgrade that's very difficult to defend. And you can kind of see, okay, if it's a downgrade, it's possible that it is. Moving on. This is the thing, right? Travis Scott, a rapper, is going to play a bard, basically a poet, ancient Greece. Nolan has defended this. He's defending his decision to cast Travis Scott as this type of archetype. Now, what was he thinking? Travis Scott. A lot of people are really upset about this. They think that this is insane. Now, this is what Nolan had to say, right? I had to cast him because I wanted to nod towards the idea that this story has been handed down as oral poetry, which is analogous to rap. When I first read this, I was like, are you serious? This is, you can compare Travis Scott to the ancient Greece poetry. Okay, let's look at this. Let's actually go through this in detail, right? So this is Demodocus, the guy that Travis Scott is probably going to play. By the way, it could be a random bard, or it could be Demodocus, who is the blind poet, basically, in Odysseus. And let's look at his words. In all men's eyes, all over the world, bards deserve honor and veneration. So this is the description of Demodocus, basically. Demodocus, I admire you beyond any man. Now, this is the lyrics by Travis Scott, right? 4x4, I swerve. 5% tint windows, I swerve, skirt, skirt. Right? So we have a guy that he's supposed to play who is this very deep poet, admirable character that everybody admires. And then you have Travis Scott singing about materialism. That doesn't jive very well with many people, but I think that Nolan could make it work. It's possible. I'm not like totally 100% against this, maybe just like 85%. I do not see the comparison that Nolan makes between Travis Scott's rap and that time, the poetry of that time. It does not make sense, that particular quote. Okay, this is what people had to say, right? The fact that rap is degenerate and destructive and poetry is apparently elevating and transcendent. I'm not sure about that. I'm sure that if you go back, you can see a lot of poetry that's very posh and ridiculous and doesn't have much meaning. If you go back, it's just that we know all of the poetry that's famous today, that stayed throughout time, is just very elevating, but it probably isn't as a whole. Like, when everyone could make poetry, you probably had a ton of trash as well, okay? And then rap is degenerate and destructive. I don't agree with that necessarily. You probably have rap out there, rap songs that do elevate, or they criticize social issues. Like, you go back looking at Tupac's lyrics, he had a lot to say about society. Whatever your opinion is about him, he had a lot of valid criticism and good lyrics in his rap. You can find a lot of old school rap that has a ton of meaning. So that's just a simplification, my man. I don't disagree. I don't agree, I mean. Then you have Odysseus about to go on a rap battle with Poseidon to save his life, If you can imagine that scene, the way it's going to take place. But this man has kind of a point, right? Because it doesn't jive very well. It doesn't fit into that context, possibly, to have Travis Scott in there. Does it elevate the meaning of the movie, is my question. Does it elevate does it make it more meaningful, or does it make it just kind of ridiculous the way that this guy is describing it here? Okay, oral poetry is the excuse now. Another guy writes, another person. Ancient bars didn't rely on autotune and stadium lights. Travis Scott has zero range as an actor. This is pure box office bait, not artistic vision. Hard pass. So basically, the point here is that when you had bards, when you had a type of scenic performance back in the ancient times, they didn't have anything to help them. It was just the person standing in front of a crowd, and that was it. That was the entire magic. Whereas nowadays, you have concerts, you have auto-tune, you have all of this extra technology to help the person. And this person doesn't think that Travis Scott is going to be up to the job, basically, in the movie. Pure box office bait, they're saying it. Okay, no artistic vision. I kind of agree and also disagree with this, because you haven't seen the movie yet, and yet you're already judging the guy's ability as an actor. Okay, that you cannot know that. You haven't seen it yet. So this is one of those things where you just have to see it come out, and then you have to say, was he good in it or not? It's very hard to judge an actor based on a performance that they haven't even performed yet. Come on. Come on. Okay. Another person says this, right? Nolan really said rap is ancient oral poetry and cast Travis Scott as a Greek hero. Bro turned the Odyssey into a trap remix. Next up, Achilles doing ad-libs and Odysseus dropping a diss track on the Cyclops. Cinema's dead. Okay, this is a fair point. This is like, it's obviously very satirical, but there's kind of a point here, right? You're turning cinema, you're turning this depiction of history into something completely laughable. You can see that, right? At the same time, you can really veer off from the original story, the original history, and you can do something that's completely your own. Like, come on, you can do that. You can do something completely different. And when we exist in the future, we change things the way that we want. We shape them the way that we want. And you might have like a story that ends up being kind of good in a modern type of way. Now, that being said, when people have this many complaints about a movie that's not even out yet, they're reacting so much, that's kind of a bad indicator. Okay, usually people are excited to see stuff that are eventually going to be good. I've in my life not seen that many things that people were complaining ferociously about, and then it was like, oh, everybody was wrong. 1,000% of people were wrong about this. That's not really happened to me. I've never experienced that. Can you think of a movie like that? You know, let me know in the comments below if you have an example of that. But usually the movie's trash if people hate it from the get-go. If they hate the casting, they hate the trailer, usually it's garbage. So, you know, that's the controversy. Basically, people are very, very upset, and they think that it's just going to be visuals and not story, which at the same time, it's kind of like politicized. You know, you got Travis Scott, you have Elliot Page, and a lot of these things that are more political, sort of like the left versus right. That's why it's so controversial at the same time. You can really see that. You know, you can see the fact that a lot of the criticism is just people being upset with the fact that it's going to be rap focused. There's going to be rap, you know, because it's controversial. There's controversy here, which also could be a bad sign. Like, is this movie's marketing relying on being shocking and being controversial? Because on its own, it's not going to have its own merit. And the older Troy movie is just going to outshine it anyway, and people are not going to see it. Was that part of what Nolan wanted? Is that his master plan? You know, at the same time, right, you can see that Travis Scott could work as a bard. It could work. You know, if it's not very over the top, you could defend it. You could understand it in a way, and it could kind of be interesting. You know, it could be an interesting kind of depiction at the same time, you know. If you feel like it's just a celebrity, if it feels just like a celebrity and it's out of place, that's the thing. It's not going to be automatically cringe to have Travis Scott in this movie if he gives a good performance, if he's amazing in the role. And if you really buy him as this bard character, that's gonna be good, you know. But if it feels like a cameo, that's cringe. That's one negative point in the movie, on top of a bunch of other questionable castings at the same time, you know. But it's not one of the worst types of. It's not one of the most controversial castings, you know. But when you see Nolan defending this as the same thing as poetry, that kind of shows that the concept is already lost, you know. It really makes you think, makes you question what he's thinking. But at the same time, it's Nolan. Nolan does whatever he wants, and the movies kind of turn out great at the same time. There are some things that are, sometimes you feel like his movies are a little bit bloated, like he could have done something better. He could have made some decisions that are a little bit different. He doesn't make the most perfect movies, and they still turn out great, you know. So that's it, you know. It could be something that's part of his genius, or it could be the downhill of his career, basically. A lot of people are saying that he's gone woke, that it's politicized. You know, let me know what you think about that. But I think those are kind of very extreme arguments to make. They're just very one sided. And it's not even about the political aspect that I care about. I care about, is it actually just cringe? Is he good in the role or not? So you could really say that it's very, in a way, it's very pretentious to compare Travis Scott to the poetry of that time. That's something that I don't agree with. I do not see the parallels that he was trying to make there. At the same time, it could work, but it's very divisive. It's very divisive, and it's not looking very great so far. But let me know what you think. You know, do you think that this is a terrible casting choice, like everybody on Twitter is saying, or is there something there? Are we actually looking at a gem in the making? And when the time comes to watch this movie, it's going to be like, whoa, Travis Scott was amazing in this role. I really do see the poetry in this. I see the poetry. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And yeah, see you on the next one.